People think their money's safe, but you're agreeing to lose money by leaving it there.
Why aren't we taught about how to invest our own money?
Because then you will escape the matrix. The last thing they want you to be probably is free.
I'm working 70% of my life for the government. I mean, that's outrageous.
There is an answer to it. The answer is...
Do you think there's some kind of money matrix at play where there's a system that most people don't know about around money that doesn't serve the populace?
I don't necessarily think there is a money matrix, as you put it there. I think we're kept very much in the dark as to what we should do with money, that's for sure. I mean, when you think about it, you go to school and you're taught to become a cog in a wheel to earn money, and at no point are you actually told what you should do with that money or how you can increase your money or make your money work for you. And I think most people will think about money in the wrong way. Most people think about earning money to spend money. They don't think about earning money to make money from that money. And if they did, it would be a whole different place. And it certainly improve a lot of people's lives. So, you know, rather than going out and spending 10 grand that you've saved up that you've then got to save up again, you're obviously better off to save your 10 grand, invest it wisely, make it mature into a bigger amount of money, and then spend your 10 grand, and it's only a small impact on what you've grown. And it's all about, I suppose for me, planting those seeds of money which will grow into the money tree that they say doesn't exist, because they always say money doesn't grow on trees. Well, if you plant enough seeds, you'll grow a big enough tree and you'll be able to live off the fruit that that tree yields. So that's the way I've always looked at it from, I'd say, a fairly young age.
So why aren't we then taught about how to manage and invest our own money?
I guess that's because then you will escape the matrix, and you.
So maybe there is a matrix.
Well, maybe, but then you become free. And the last thing they want you to be probably is free, because, as I mentioned earlier, the whole society thing is to make you a cog in a wheel. And if you're all different shapes. When you go into school, I remember when I started in for school, I didn't particularly like school. I'd have rather have gone home, but I tolerated it and got on with it. But everyone that started at that infant school was different. Everyone was different, you know. There'd be the kid that played up, there'd be the kid that joked around, there'd be the kid that sat down quietly in the corner. But they mould you into what they want to be the same thing coming out the other end, so that you can serve the system as it is. And that's been the same since Rockefeller invented the schooling system that we've adopted and kept with for many years.
So when you say adapted to serve the system, are you meaning things like pay your taxes and put your money in the bank so that they can lend and invest your money? And
well, they're not even lending your money, are they? They're lending money that doesn't exist, which is a whole new thing. And
it doesn't exist. They print it out of nothing.
Yeah.
They charge it to you with interest, and then you give it back to them, and they earn interest on the money that you give back to them. And if you struggle
to pay back the money that doesn't exist, then you're banged up for it, or you lose your property, or whatever it happens to be. So it's a whole game of cards, isn't it, really? It's a big illusion, it's a big smoke screen. And if you go too in depth, you'll find the system, once you start talking about too much of it, will block you.
Really?
Well, I think so, yes.
Well, I mean, I had Nigel Farage on my show, and he's been debanked.
I know.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? Purely, as I understand it, for his political views. And the person at, NatWest and Coots.
RBS,
didn't like his views, so debanked him. And there's plenty that have been debanked. He was obviously a high-profile one that wouldn't put up with it and went very public about it. So.
Right. So does it worry you talking about it? Because part of me thinks, learn how the system works, learn the smart parts of the system, like leverage debt to buy assets. Understand how to get inflation-beating assets. Keep quiet. Go and make lots of money. And then part of me thinks, but there's something that feels wrong about it.
Well, there's definitely something wrong about it. But at the end of the day, I quite often find you can know ins and outs of something that you don't like, but you've got to work within that system. You can beat the wall down, and we all know of influencers that have stood up and shouted loudly, and various things happen.
You mean Andrew Tate?
Well, I might mean him, I might mean various others, but at the end of the day, you've got to work with the system that's there. I don't think you as an individual can change it very much. And you could say, well, you can stand to be a politician and all the rest of it, but you and I both know that the politicians are just one tier or two tiers down from what's really going on. So you're still not going to change anything.
Yeah. So are you saying then that people are better maybe to self-educate around money? You do a lot of money content. I've written a lot of money books. There's some good people out there that are smart with money. Are you saying that's a good way to self-educate?
I think self-education is huge because no one else is, in the school systems is going to teach you this. I'm not sure in the university because I've not been through university side of things, but there's certainly a lack of education for most people around money. And without that education, where are they going to go to? And obviously self-education can be via us on YouTube, for example, or via a mentor of some sort. I mean, or a business partner if you're going into business. I mean, I would say one of the things I would have liked to have had was a mentor for longer. Unfortunately, he died when I was quite young, the guy who sort of opened my eyes a little bit to what was possible. And also I'd have liked to have a business partner that had I would say sort of like my same views, but brought in a different skill set, probably the money side of it with other things, and we could have pushed forward together. That would have been quite nice.
Do you think that the government are doing enough to support small business and innovation and startups and young talent?
No.
No, that was easy.
No.
Why not?
And the country's full of entrepreneurs. We are, well, we used to be like the nation of small shopkeepers, but that didn't mean necessarily shopkeepers, did it? It meant, people with small businesses and innovation and all that sort of thing. And, that's being crushed.
Why?
I really don't know. I think governments love big business. They love big corporations. Absolutely love them.
Because they probably get financial benefit and donations and...
Probably. I mean, I don't delve too deeply into that, but obviously they come in saying, we promise, we're going to do 3,000 jobs or whatever the case may be. And it's like, come to the country, do that. Now we can't close them down, even though they're not paying a lot of tax because they've got all these jobs. But they probably put 10,000 out of jobs to create those 3,000 jobs. So I think they're in love for some reason with big corporate business. And the problem is entrepreneurs have got to have an incentive, okay? And if they don't have an incentive...
Get a job.
Or they're going to move.
Yeah.
And, we've done some podcasts in Dubai and we've looked at the situation there and you think, well, should we move to Dubai? Because, it's a tax-free place. Yeah, there's a little bit of corporation tax, but it's not a lot.
Yeah.
So we could benefit hugely from that. But I'm hugely patriotic. I love the country I live in, but it starts to get harder. Shame, isn't it?
It is a shame. And you know what? I think must be 70 to 80% of entrepreneurs I speak to who think the same thing. I was being interviewed today on a podcast and someone was talking about, rich people, they don't pay the money down the system to the poor. And I said, they do in the form of taxes, and the taxes go to the government, and then the money doesn't go down to the poor because taxes is a way to redistribute wealth. And it just seems that so many people are over the UK, which is such a shame with all the history we have.
Yeah. It's a great country, isn't it? It really is a great country. But, there's only so much you can do. I mean, I always think the world's full of, or people are the 3Ds. You've got the drifters, the dreamers and the doers. And, you're always going to have people that drift through life. They don't really have a motivation. They spend everything checkbook to checkbook or... not checkbook to checkbook, but
showing your age. Pay slip to pay slip.
Paycheck to paycheck. That's what I meant to say. And they say money doesn't, buy you happiness, but that's all the while they're spending every penny they got to try and be happy. And then you've got the dreamers. Obviously, I think most people fall into that bracket. Most people have got a dream of where they want to be, what they want to earn, what they want out of life. But as we go back to what we were speaking earlier, they don't know how to get to that point. If they don't know how to get to that point, then they're never going to get to that point. And then you've got the doers. Now, the doers are the same as dreamers, but they do go out and do it. They educate themselves that little bit further. They see where they want to go, and they find a way to get there. Now, if those doers are just taxed to high heaven, then how are they going to have that want to get to those
the incentive?
Dreams? There's no point, and a lot of them will look at, what others are getting and
Lisbon,
go,
Dubai.
Exactly. And that's no good for this country, that's for sure, And if you end up, you're probably in a similar position. I probably pay, out of every pound I earn, probably in some form of tax, 65 pence of the pound, something like that.
I worked out with what I earn and then what I spend, it's 70 pence in
there
the
you
pound.
go.
That's outrageous.
It is outrageous.
I'm working 70% of my life for the government.
Yeah.
And so that makes me not want to draw money out of my companies because I don't want a massive, great big tax event.
Exactly.
Which clogs up the flow of money in the system.
Yeah. Yeah. It's ridiculous. Isn't it? Absolutely ridiculous. And, I think there is an answer to it. The problem is the answer is probably too simple.
Flat rate tax?
Flat rate tax, 100% flat rate tax, because, as an entrepreneur and someone that earns a bit more than the average, then if I'm paying more percentage tax, how is that fair?
Yeah.
That is not fair. So,
but you earn more, so you should pay more.
Well, that's wrong, and the problem with it is as you go up the scales of the earning, the more you earn, the more money you've got to pay for someone to help you avoid to pay that tax. So you're not going to get it anyway.
No.
So if everyone's paying 20%, everyone's fair, everyone's the same. Now, you don't have to start that until the first 30,000 if you want. It doesn't matter. Your lower earners could be tax-free for a much bigger amount, a longer period. And then obviously you pay one amount from there on. And also VAT. Blimey, VAT, 20%. That is... they say it's
for what? And they call it value-added tax. Where's the value?
Well, there's not.
No.
And the thing is, if you've vatted everything, period. Doesn't matter what it is. It makes life simpler because, in some of my businesses, some things are vatted, some aren't. Let's just VAT everything. And let's just VAT it all at 10%. It's not an extortionate amount. Those that can afford to buy the items that got VAT on are paying tax to the government. Those that can't afford the items aren't paying that VAT. That's fine. I think it's a fair tax from the amount that you can afford, but it's too big an amount.
Yeah.
So you're always going to have people trying to avoid it, bring things in, smuggle, shall we say, for want of a better word. VAT's a horrible tax that we all collect for the government and don't get paid for doing it.
Yeah, and the problem is VAT, but then there's corporation tax, then there's income tax, then there's national insurance. Oh, wait a minute, where does the national insurance money go to? Oh, wait a minute, I can't get in the NHS. And then the pension contributions you have to make, it's just endless.
Yes, it is endless. Actually, when you sit down and you work it all out, do you ever have that feeling of, why do I bother?
Yeah.
Right. Now, as an entrepreneur...
For nearly 20 years, I've been an entrepreneur.
You shouldn't have that feeling. You should have the feeling of, I'm really doing well. I'm helping this country. I'm employing all these people, giving them enough money to pay their mortgages, buy their cars, do whatever they want to do. I'm being rewarded myself. Fantastic. I love living in this country.
Yeah.
That's how I think you should feel as an entrepreneur, and be praised by the people around you for that. Well done, fantastic. He's doing well. So that means people that he's employing are doing well, and so on and so forth. You shouldn't feel the opposite to that as an entrepreneur.
Do you think there's any chance we could get back to this? Well, I hate to say this, Mark, but maybe it's a fantasy what you just said there, but because it just seems they're so over it. It feels to me more like a communist country than it does a capitalist country. Okay, I still own my properties. They're hopefully not going to take them off me. But, the taxes are so high that they're taking a lot of that. How do we get back? Look, I know in some ways you might not want to stick your head up, but surely people like us have got to talk about this more and throw some ideas out there. Because, by the way, if the government came to me for some advice, which they wouldn't,
No.
I would openly talk to them
But
and
that's
help
the
them.
problem. You've just summed the problem up. They won't come to you because they know what you're going to say, and that's not part of their agenda. So why would they come to you?
But how are they going to grow the economy if they just keep biting the hands that feeds them?
Well, I think they've already had the hands, haven't they? The arms have gone, and it's starting to take a bit more of the torso the way they're going. So I don't know really what the answers are. I mean, I know what I would do. I mean, I'm sure if you got into power as Prime Minister, or if I got into power as Prime Minister, we'd probably only last 4 years.
Yeah, but we'd change things.
We'd try and change a bit,
Yeah.
but of course, all those levels above, will they allow you to change those things?
Well, that's true.
You know,
and then also the problem is the voting, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you know what? Landlords are evil because there's 2.5 million landlords,
Yeah.
and there's 70 million homeowners and renters or whatever.
yeah. Have you ever wondered why it's only 4 years as well that they're in power?
Well, personally, I think it's far too short.
I think it's way too
Yeah,
short.
because a football manager, like Klopp, took him that long just to find his own squad in Liverpool. And when Ferguson came into Man United, if I brought in a new MD,
Yeah.
so why only...
But also, when he came into power, into
Maybe because they're a
management,
puppet. I don't know.
He may well have known that he'd got at least 4 years to get it right. He didn't think, oh, right, after 2 years, I'll give a little bit, do a little bit what I can, and then I'll soften it all off, ready for another election. Then I'll do a little bit more, then I'll soften it off in 4 years. If you were in power for 10 years, you might actually have a chance.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, they say we've got choice, but we've got no choice. We've got A or B.
Let's flip it on its head and let's talk about some of the good things. In the UK, you own your own property and the state won't take it off you like
Yeah.
they might in
China.
other states, like China, for example. So
Where I nearly bought a property.
Really?
Yeah. It would have been all right at the moment, but
Yeah.
it can be just taken away from you.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
You don't own the land,
No,
you only
you-
own the property.
Exactly. And technically, with the words like mortgage and birth and register, which if you look at the history of the language of those words, you're giving away ownership with register and birth, and mortgages until death. So technically, the state have, given themselves some good contractual coverage, but there would be an outrageous revolution in this country if they started taking your properties off you. So I suppose that's one thing we should be grateful for.
That's probably where you've got to be grateful for probably Margaret Thatcher at this stage, because that was the thing that probably pushed house ownership. Although the trickle down, I don't agree with, and a lot of the things she did was wrong, but certainly she pushed this house ownership thing quite hard, didn't she? So, owning your own property is always seen, particularly in this country, as being a huge up, isn't it? So.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of the American influencers, they say you should never own your own home. You should rent your own home.
Yeah.
Well, I'm British and I have a little bit of a different view, and you're quintessentially British, Mark, even with the waistcoat.
Yeah.
Do you think you should own or rent your own home?
Well, it really depends. I mean, there's no right or wrong answer here. If you're going to live in the same place for 7+ years and that's your personal asset, then probably you should buy it because it becomes cost effective to do that. If you're likely to move, then within that 7 years, and that's likely, then definitely you don't really want to be buying it as your personal property to be living in. Having said that, if you're buying a property to rent it out, that's a completely different thing. And you can obviously rent for yourself and have a buy to rent without any shadow of a doubt. That's an investment. But the place you're living in, really, it's got to be a 7 year plus.
Why is that?
Thing. Well, because of the cost of ownership. I mean, first of all, you've got your land registry, you've got your mortgage costs,
duty.
you've got stamp duty, you've got all your various insurances.
Probably a refurb.
You've got refurb. You've got the boiler's going to go, isn't it? Everything. Everything that's involved with it. I would say it's 7 years. I don't know if you think that as well, but I think it's about 7 years, and then you're probably into making some money. The thing that I think a lot of people confuse with property, personal property we're talking about here, is you buy a house for yourself and it doubles in value. Oh, I've doubled my money. Well, you haven't, because you've had all those ongoing costs within that time period. So people don't take that into account. It's a bit like doing up a classic car. If you didn't enjoy doing it, well, you should have charged for your time. If you charged for your time, you made a loss.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a Ferrari Testarossa that's gone up in value, and it's just had £16,000 spent on the engine, and that's wiped out all the value increase.
Yeah, mind you, that did jump a lot. Testarossa jumped a lot. I mean, they were sitting, I believe, at about 80, 90 about 7 years ago, seven to 8 years ago, and they had quite a jump, didn't they? And where is it now? 220, something like that.
I'd be a bit conservative on that, but I've definitely made
somewhere around that area, isn't it?
Yeah, made a pound or two.
Yeah.
What about this though, Mark? With the buy versus rent, 7 years, or let's say 5 years. So
yeah, okay.
So
I'll take 5 years.
We break your 7 year rule, move it down to 5. 5 years rent lost. It's gone nowhere.
Yeah, but as long as you've invested the money you would have spent on that property, so for example, your down payment, your deposit, and all of those ongoing costs, if you'd invested those in the right sort of areas, then the amount that you would make on those investments, or if you're an entrepreneur and you want that to accelerate your business, you can earn tenfold within that 5-year period.
Right.
And we're only talking on personal property, your personal property.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as you go into buy into rent, as you know, because this is your specialist area, and I'm not going to teach you to suck eggs, that's a completely different kettle of fish.
Yeah. I'm really torn on this now because honestly, for years, I was always pro home ownership. You know, houses have proven to go up in value every 15 years or so in the UK for 1,000 years, maybe not so much America. You have the scarcity of supply. The banks, you know, they don't really want the house market coming down too much because they take a haircut on their money. And you can make it your own. You know, for example, I'm in your house and this is your studio. You wouldn't be able to put all this into a rental.
No.
Because it'd be dead money. So what you could do then, if you're saying you've got maybe a deposit, stamp duty and all the costs, but you don't buy, you rent, you invest the money well, you might be able to make recurring passive income from the money that you invest to pay your rent, and you've got free living.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, so there's lots of ways to skin a cat, isn't there? I mean, the other way that's very, very popular, particularly in the States, is to have a duplex where obviously you buy the house and one side is for a different family, one side's for your family, and you offset those costs considerably. I think there's a little bit of a thing against that in this country. I think people hate the idea of, well, there aren't many duplexes. You know, you'd have to say a semi-detached, and then they're two separate houses with, you know, all the different problems that come with that. And I don't think people want to rent out rooms necessarily in their house. But if you buy a 4-bedroom house at a fairly young age and you don't mind renting out 3 rooms, you're living there for free.
Well, do you know what? I learned this from my business partner's dad, because my business partner's dad was a very successful entrepreneur while my business partner was going to school. And his friend, when he turned 18, he said, right, here's what I'm going to do. See that nice 3-story, 5-bed house? I'll put the deposit in. I'll be the guarantor. But you have to rent out the rooms, and anything you make on top is yours. I just want the mortgage covered. Anything you want on top is yours. I think they had an equity share. And at age 18, he's renting out the rooms, learning to deal with tenants. Yeah. And you know, when you've ever had tenants as friends, that normally goes wrong.
Yeah.
And I actually thought, no, but I thought, what a good way to give someone an incentive and throw them in the fire and get them to learn what business investing is really like.
Yeah, it sounds absolutely great. You know, I'd have loved to have done something like that early on.
Yeah.
But that's where you need people to help you with these lessons.
You need an entrepreneurial father.
Exactly, yeah.
Let's say you were going to start again in business. You've got your 35 years experience, but the world has changed, and maybe you wouldn't do manual stuff anymore. What would you do? Would you do social media, content, be a creator? Would you do what you're doing now?
I think digital content is amazing now, isn't it? And if you're that way minded, I think the world is absolutely your oyster. I don't think enough people possibly realise that, particularly youngsters at the moment, but digital products are fantastic. I mean, I've always been physical products. You know, that's been my business all my life. So I've always got the problem of how much do I order, the cost of it, the importation of it, and all the rest of it. Well, your digital product, it may well take you 2 or 3 years or whatever it is to produce that digital product. You're never out of stock, are you? No. You haven't got to think about how much you've got to order. If you're able to adapt it and change it to the changing times, it will sell forever, or certainly for a long period of time. I think that's an amazing way to go, and I'd love to do that. I'd love to do it with a business partner. That I think for me would make a lot of difference. Someone that's less risk avert for sure, because there are certain gambles along the way. And what I'd always say, I'm not a gambler. I'll take a chance. I don't really have too much problem spending my business money on a calculated chance. But sometimes you want a gambler there as well, to a certain degree, really to push that last little bit out of you.
Yeah. And if you had, let's say you're going to just invest 10 grand, where would you put that kind of money?
If you're saying, as me starting again, I was back to 16 with my knowledge, or 18? Or...
You've got your knowledge, and that 10 grand is not your last 10 grand. It's not your only 10 grand in the world. You're going to invest it. Because I think if it's your only 10 grand, you might use it to start a business, for example.
Well, if it was my only 10 grand, let's say it was your only 10 grand and you were back to 18, I would invest that in learning as much as I could, and however I could spend it in a knowledgeable way.
Yeah.
I would probably also do that working for someone else, because I'm a firm believer in, when you're young, you want to work for as many people as you possibly can, because if you actively work for a lot of smaller businesses, you can learn how those businesses operate and work. You don't have to work there necessarily very long. I think you should work there very hard. This quiet quitting is not the way to go. No. You should be there working your what's-its off. And if there's 10 employees to that company, you can very easily work out how that business runs and take a list of all the good things, but also take a list of all the bad things. And the reason you take a list of all the bad things is because they're the things you should be able to do better. And if you can do those better, when you decide to start up a business or do your own thing, you take those and you improve upon those, and you deliver great value to a vast number of people, particularly with a digital product.
Yeah, I think this is a bit forgotten, because back in our day, Mark, there was work experience, and it was somewhat normal to work your way up through a company. And now it's almost like, well, if you're an employee, you're a loser, or someone who is just quite happy to be employed, or you're an entrepreneur. But there's this bit in the middle, this massive bit in the middle, where you could go and find an entrepreneur who's got a 20 or a 50 million pound business. Yeah. That sort of person, you're probably going to be able to have a couple of meetings with a month, especially if you show a bit of va-va-voom and get up and go. And like you said, you're going to learn so much more working from them than you are working for Amazon, because you're never going to get anywhere near the top.
No, you'll learn to pack a box. Yeah. And then you'll learn to pack a box quicker, then quicker until you've had enough and you've got to get out because you can't stand it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And you might have made a bit of money and paid your rent, but what have you learned?
Nothing.
And surely it's better. I mean, I like to learn while you earn.
Yeah, this is very key. I think it's an amazing thing. And this is why I don't like all this net worth talk. I understand why people are interested in net worth. But at the end of the day, if you're a youngster that's earned 10 million off of a Bitcoin that's gone to the moon, what have you actually learned? Now, are you better because you've got 10 million in the bank than someone that's done 10 years and they've earned 5 million? Well, the guy that's earned 5 million over 10 years, he's got skills. If he lost all that, he could replicate that, no problem at all, and probably in a shorter period of time. If he doesn't lose it, he's going to grow from that as well. Whereas a guy that's just got it, shortcutted his way to it, or even lottery win to it, whatever the case may be, that is going to be an ever decreasing amount of money, and you can never replicate that. So I think learning these skills, and I also think that trades are very, very underrated.
Right.
I think a lot of trades are earning a lot of money now. I think that there's a lot of people that could go into the trades and then be running these businesses. Yes. And I think they
start on the tools, then get off the tools and run the business.
And they've been lost to the university system, which is the next one on from school that beats the last little tiny bit of entrepreneurship out of you that you've possibly got. Because the only reason to go to university is going into an institutional style job. You're not... If you go to university to become an entrepreneur, well, I don't think they can teach that.
No.
I can't see how you teach that. There's no way to teach entrepreneurs.
No, I don't think so. And if you look at some of the tutors in the arena of business in the system, how much actual on-the-ground experience do they have?
Generally not a lot.
No.
And you pay a lot of money for the privilege as well.
Yes, you do. You get yourself a massive load of debt.
Massive debt. And they go, oh, well, it's student debt. Doesn't matter. Well,
it does matter.
Of course it matters. And it's not all on student loans either, is it?
You'll get accommodation, your living expenses.
Exactly. And it takes you a long, long time to pay that off. I'm sure I saw a stat a little while ago that a plumber will earn up to the age of 37. That's the point that a doctor can overtake him on earnings. It's something like that.
That's mad.
Don't absolutely quote me on that, but it's quite a long period.
Wow.
And that's if he just remains a plumber on the tools doing his general job. But then if you had a plumber, they're hard to get and they're a lot of money, aren't they?
Well, there you go. And now build a plumbing business then.
Exactly.
What upsets you about money? I know we've covered some stuff, but is there anything else that upsets you around money and how it's perceived?
People think their money's safe in a building society or bank. They look at it and they see it going up by a small amount. They don't see it going down. You know, if it was truthful, it should have the value of your money written there. This is the value of your money. And, you know, you should see it incrementally going down, like 10% this year at least, 10% last year at least. But you don't. You see the same figure there. So you're sort of almost being bluffed into thinking, oh, it's safe there, so I don't want to take a risk with my money elsewhere. But the real story is you are taking a risk. You're agreeing to taking, well, it's not even a risk. You're agreeing to lose money by leaving it there. And that's a bit sad, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I've always thought that the minimum you have to do when you protect your money is you have to beat inflation.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I mean, I think since lockdown, it's been double digit the last 3 years when you add it all up.
Yeah.
And so that's a third of your money in value has gone down. But like you said, you don't see it because you think you've still got the same savings, but you haven't. Yeah. So your first goal surely has got to be to beat the inflation rate so that at the very least your money isn't going down. But if interest rates are going up, but they're still lower than inflation. But back in the day, just 3 years ago, inflation was over 10 and interest rates were under half.
Yeah. It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely mad.
But I mean, I bet you if you walk down the street, even in some affluent areas, and you ask 10 people, what's inflation? I bet you only one or two of them can get it right.
Well, the problem again is, I mean, I don't watch the news. I think the news is very depressing and I won't watch it, and there's no need to, because anything of any real importance I need to know, I will find out. It'll come my way one way or another. But when the news does say things like about inflation, it's like, yeah, inflation's come down. Fantastic. Oh, brilliant. Inflation's come down. Yeah, but it's still 8.5% or 9.5%. You know, it's not come down to where it was. It's not negative. It's not gone the other way so you can recap some of what you had. It's still up there, guys. Come on, report it properly. It should be inflation still 9%. It's not good enough. The government should be doing something to retract that back down. And why are they putting up interest rates to do that when really I don't think it's the tool. It's very, very crude tool for bringing down inflation.
Yeah, you see, we're in this weird position, which we never should be, where you've got relatively high inflation and increasing interest rates. And if interest rates are supposed to be the tool that suppresses inflation, well, if they'd have started raising rates 5 or 6 years ago, much more gently, they probably could have controlled the big whoop in inflation.
Yeah.
And if they hadn't locked down the country, that's a whole other thing.
But shortage of supply is also running the inflation up.
Of course, which was caused by lockdown.
So
Brexit.
So why are you making everyone suffer that's borrowing for their business to help make the country great, borrowing for their house to make their family secure?
How many repos are going to happen now? People are paying minimum 7% a year.
There you go.
On their mortgages. And, I'm like, I don't mind a property crash because I'm an investor. But if I was a homeowner and all of a sudden my mortgage is double because my interest rate's gone up from 2% to 7%, and I think about giving the keys back and going and renting somewhere cheaper, that's not a nice thing. No. And that has happened. They kick the can down the road by like, oh, well, let's just try and get everything bad under the back door from 2008. And just kick the can down the road and down the road and down the road and down the road. And a new politician, a new Bank of England, a governor or Prime Minister comes in and they're like, well, like you said, they've only got 4 years.
Yeah.
So why are they going to care about where the market's going to be in 10 years?
So they're just printing a load of money.
And
that's been going on since we got out of pretty much the gold. Well, it's going on before
since the early 70s.
Certainly when we got out the gold standard.
Well, I think money's worth a seventh of what it was back then. But gold is worth exponentially more.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like for anyone listening, if they don't know what money printing is, it is devaluing your money. And what's their solution to their... Oh, by the way, here's another thing. When the interest rates go up, so does the national debt. Because they've got 30 trillion in national debt.
Make-believe money.
There you go.
That's a debt.
So if they were paying 2% on that and now they're paying 6% on that, where are they going to get that extra interest from? Us in tax, or they're going to erode it away with inflation.
Well, they'll try and erode it away with inflation,
course they will.
won't they? So, they can say we're trying to knock inflation down, but actually inflation for the national debt is sort of not a bad thing for them.
Well, here's one thing I will say that I learned. And as a property owner, you'll probably know this. And most people don't know this. But obviously, if you have money, inflation is bad. But if you have good debt getting property, inflation actually helps you. So I've got 340 properties, and my mortgages are worth tens of millions of pounds. And the government were wiping £3-4 million a year off the relative value of my mortgages. They were writing it off their own debt. They didn't care about my mortgages. But as inflation is 10%, it's also devaluing my mortgage by 10%.
Yeah.
So this is another reason why maybe owning your own house, especially if in times of high inflation, can be quite good. Because the government inadvertently helping you pay your debt down.
Yeah. People won't see it that way because obviously they just see the interest rate go up and it being more of an amount that they're paying. But
no,
it's certainly
they won't. And back then rates were low. Because if you think about it, I don't know what you think about this, Mark. Fiat currency is quite a smart invention. And money, I mean, I reckon money's up there with the wheel in terms of
great invention.
How great an invention is. But the problem is you have the dual use paradox. Whereby, I mean, the Gatling gun, for example, was made by, I think, Robert Gatling. And he actually designed it with good intentions so that you got one gun, so your 10 guys in the front line didn't have to be there.
Yeah.
Give that Gatling gun to a terrorist,
and
all of a sudden it becomes... And I think money's a great tool. And I think that fiat currency system, although it's unsustainable, really smart invention and has upsides if you know how to be free and play the game. But of course, the problem is it's in the wrong hands, isn't it? Controlled by the wrong people. And
where do you see the world currency going? Do you see it staying with the USA and the US dollar? Or do you see it going elsewhere?
Well, Ray Dalio thinks that China will take the global reserve currency at some point. If you look back through history over thousands of years, you can track...
of course.
The British pound was obviously the reserve currency for a while.
Before that.
Yeah, so... In the end, will US lose the reserve currency status? Of course they will.
It's how long they can carry on
it
holding
is, and,
it.
Yeah.
And when they lose it, I think they will absolutely drop through the floor.
Yeah.
I mean,
do you think it's going to be China then that will get the next reserve currency?
Well, it could be, or it could be a cryptocurrency. You never know. At that point, it might well be the way to go.
Because, I mean, the global reserve currency equals power, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I mean, you look at the UK. The UK was pretty broke in about 70, 76.
Yeah.
You know, it's only North Sea oil, from what I understand, that really kept us afloat, and our banking system. So what's America going to have?
Yeah, well, they can't be the global superpower forever.
No.
Because every empire falls in the end.
Yeah.
I mean, for the world, I hope it's not a communist regime, personally, being an entrepreneur.
But there's a lot of entrepreneurs. I mean, as I say, I travel to China quite a lot, and there's a lot of entrepreneurs that do very, very well in China.
Really?
Oh, very much so, yeah. So
and they don't get everything taken from them like
well,
we're led.
It
because
depends.
maybe there's some propaganda
of course there
going
is,
on.
yeah. I mean, I don't have... do I have any friends that hate the system out there? I would say I don't have anyone that I now know and are in contact with that don't like the system that they're working within out there. They are quite happy.
Yeah.
I have one that is always... he's not so much a friend, more an acquaintance. He has always been a very European sort of Chinese person. So much so when you go into his factory, all his offices are like European rooms.
Right, yeah.
That's how much he loves Europe, and he wants to move to Europe. But all the rest are quite happy with the system they're working within. And there are advantages to that system. So, we're taught
Well, no system is perfect.
No, we're taught that the democratic system is the way to be. But is that because they want everyone to be a democratic system so they can sell to them, so they can trade with them, so that they can have what they want from them and control them in whatever way they want? Because they can't control a communist state.
No. Well, I mean, whatever capitalism is not what we've got in Britain.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it is either in many states in America. I mean, I wrote in my book about creditism maybe we're in now.
I think that's what it should be called.
Yeah,
I was
it's
gonna
not
add
capitalism.
That.
Yeah.
Definitely criticism, because, everyone's up to their eyeballs.
Yeah.
And once you get on that train, you're sort of stuck, aren't you? You're on a spiral that you're not really going to get out of.
Yeah.
As an individual, you've got to do something pretty different to what's gone before you.
Yeah.
And that's breaking that mold again, isn't it, that we talked about earlier?
Yeah, it is. And not wanting to champion the older generation like ourselves, Mark, but, when I started in business, my mentors were 60 and 70, and I was fortunate enough, I opened the door. I tried. They didn't fall on my lap, but I got James Caan as a mentor from Dragon's Den and Andreas Panayiotou, the billionaire. I think it's really important if you want to think about being a business owner and making good decisions, you want someone who's been through a couple of cycles.
Yeah.
And who's seen it.
Yeah.
Because I can see some really close traits now to 2008 in terms of house prices, for example, because I've gone through that whole cycle.
Yeah.
Do you think that's important to study people who've got a bit of experience and history?
I think all the lessons are to be had from the past. The unfortunate thing is, I think governments don't take those lessons.
No, we just repeat them.
And we just repeat the same thing time after time.
Yeah.
And that's for various other reasons that we've spoken about. But I think as individuals, you can learn those lessons. And as long as you don't just forget about them. I mean, most people go through life on consumer mode. They don't realise they're on consumer mode.
No.
They should be trying to be more a producer than consuming. And to be honest, if they could just knock that gauge along a bit towards the producer than the consumer, they would be so much better off. But they just go through life that way, and that's all there is to it, really.
And if there isn't that much incentive to produce,
well, that's the other thing. I think there's always an incentive to produce and be your own boss and go for it. It's when you start earning a little bit more that you get clobbered, really clobbered.
do you think that money can make you happy?
No, I think I don't think money makes you happy in any way, shape or form. It gives you freedom. If you're a miserable person, you'll be miserable without money and you'll be miserable with money. I think you've got to be happy along the journey. I mean, I always say it's the journey is what it's all about, not the destination. And I don't think the destination's that great in most things. I mean, I fought for years to be British model helicopter champion. The journey was fantastic. And once you did it, it was like, oh, that was a bit easy compared with the rest. You know, what was that all about? You know, and then you get the blues about it because you lose your way or what you want to do or what you're pushing towards. So I think happiness is definitely the journey. I think there's a myth around happiness. I don't think, you know, people want to be happy all the time, don't they? They think, I want to be happy. I've got to do something. I've got to be really happy. Well, you can't be happy all the time, can you? Because if you're happy all the time, then you're probably on something. You'll have no other emotions. Yeah. So what's going to give you your drive? I have no idea. You know, you've got to go through a whole range of things. You know, you got to be angry, you got to be frustrated. They're all important things. You can't be happy non-stop, but you can be happy at points, and you can be happy with the journey you're on. I think, and
this is
that's
a good
thing.
Mark, this is a good point. I just want to talk about this because I think this whole the goal of life is happiness thing is a bit of a delusion. Yeah, and actually, if your life isn't going that well and you could do more, being angry with yourself's quite mobilizing.
Yes, it is.
You don't want to be happy if you've messed your life up. So a bit of frustration and anger. I mean, even at times jealousy and envy. Because I saw Mel Robbins say something I thought was very wise. But she said, all jealousy is desire. And I thought, Yeah, you're right. I don't want to admit that, but I'm right, because I would never be jealous of something you've got that I don't want. I can only be jealous of something you've got that I do want. And if you've got it and I want it, that's called desire.
But jealousy can only be turned into desire if you're going to do something about it.
Yeah, so the mobilization of that emotion.
So if you don't take action, which generally speaking is in every
big
single
problem.
video I make, take action. Maybe take all this information and education and everything for as long as you need to. But at some point, for it to work, you can't just stand in the front of the mirror and go, I'm great. You've got to make yourself great. You've got to take action to get to that stage. And if you're not willing to take action, then jealousy will eat you up.
Yeah.
Whereas looking at the other way is a nicer way to go, isn't it?
Yeah. So for the 3 people left in the UK who don't follow you or know who you are, where should we follow you? I mean, YouTube and TikTok, you look the most active to me on.
Yeah, YouTube's the best place to find us. Mark Tilbury, just type that in onto YouTube and it'll come up with my channel or mine and Curtis's channel. And of course, you can find me on Instagram, and also our website is marktilbury.com.
So basically everywhere where you can find Mark Tilbury, they'll find you.
You'll find me.
Yeah.